Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. The lighting and staging used in this image is what makes the final picture unique. No complicated equipment is required to produce this effect, just the right techniques. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so here I have my table, and on this I'm just going to place a few pieces of wood just to make the base up. You can see in the original image that the base is actually a stepped set of slates. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just place a couple of pieces of wood just on here, just like this. This will give a little bit of difference in height. But I don't want to leave them like this. I need to cover the whole table and these with some cloth, just to make the whole thing dark. And for that, I'm just going to use some black stage cloth, which is a wool serge. The details of this are in the description in the video. Okay, so just place that over here, and basically I'm just making a black background, like so. And then on this I'm going to place some slate. So that builds up this three-dimensional base. So for the subject I'm going to use a peony. So just placing this fairly carefully just on here, just like that. We'll probably need to arrange that a little more accurately a bit later. But basically that is the subject all set. Okay, so to capture that I'm going to use a medium format camera with an 80mm lens on it. Now I'm using this because it's more or less generic. I can show you the techniques with this camera, and then you can apply the techniques to your own system, whatever make it happens to be. So an 80mm lens on a medium format camera, which is what I'm using, would be approximately equivalent to a 50mm on a full frame camera. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just place a tripod at the front. I will need a tripod for this because you do need fairly fine control. I'll just place the camera on the tripod. That. So in order to show what I'm doing as I go along, I'm going to tether this into Capture One software. That way you can follow along and see the results as I get them. There we are. So that's all turned on and the software has recognized the camera, and here I can show the settings that I have on the camera at the moment. So it's in full manual mode. I have a shutter speed of 1/125th of a second. Now that's the flash sync speed for the focal plane shutter in the back of this camera. Now your cameras will vary, but the idea is that you want to use the highest shutter speed that will synchronize with your flash. I have a sensitivity of 100 ISO, and at the moment I'm using an aperture of f8. Now that's probably going to change, but it's a good starting point. It's midway in the range on the lens. So with all that set, the next thing to do would be just to frame up the shot. So I'll just look through the viewfinder. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just wind it up on the column. It's obviously at the wrong height, so I'll just keep checking in the viewfinder until I get it to about the right height. So about there somewhere, I think. Now I'm also just going to move the whole thing over a little. There we are. And then I'll just use the back button focus here just to get me a rough focus. There we are. That's more of a starting point. There. Okay, so with all that done, the next thing to do would just be to take an image just with the house lights, just to see what sort of contamination, if any, I'm getting. So what I'll do is just trigger the camera and we'll see what we get. Okay, so at these settings I'm getting virtually no image. There is a slight image here, but I don't think I'll be worried about that. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to set a light. Now I'm going to use a studio flash for this, and I'm going to place the flash over the top here. Okay, so here I have a relatively small studio head, and on the front of that I've got this zoom reflector and some barn doors. But you can always do this just with a speedlight or something similar. This will make it easier because this incorporates a modelling light which will come in very handy, as you will see as we carry on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just swing this around so that it's over the subject, and I'm just going to pop this up in the air a little. So somewhere around here should do me, I think. Okay, so with that in something like the right position, I'll just turn that on. And at an arbitrary energy level, I'll just grab an image and we'll just see what we've got. Okay, so straight away we can see that this is way overexposed. So I'm just going to take a couple of stops off that. So the easiest way to do that is just to use the built-in flash trigger here. So I'll just bring that up, and with that flash selected, I'll just take 2 stops off it. So that's 1 and that's 2. Okay, so with that done, I'll just grab that again and we'll see what we get this time. There, that's much better. That's a full range of tones, I think. I'm pretty sure the focus point is in the wrong place. If I just zoom in, you can see that the back here is in focus, but the front definitely isn't. So we just need to address that. And for that, what I'm going to do is just turn on the live view. Now, if you've got a normal mirrorless camera or something similar, you can always just use the screen on the back of the camera to do virtually the same thing. So what I'm going to do is just bring up live view here, and I'll just zoom all the way in. We'll just have a look at the front of the flower here, and I'll just adjust the focus until that's nice and sharp. Just have a look around the back. Yeah, that's going out of focus quite nicely. That's the sort of thing I want, I think. Okay, so I can dispense with live view. I'll just grab another image. So now if I zoom in, the flower's all in focus. Possibly a little bright at the top here, but we'll see how we go with that. Okay, so with the focus set, next thing to do would be just to do something about the background. So what I'm going to do is just use a bit more cloth, and I'm just going to place that at the back here to form a background. So here we are, and I'll just place this on here. There. So that should be enough to form a nice background. I'll just check that in the viewfinder. Yeah, that looks okay. I'll just grab that just to make sure. And there we are. So we now got a plain background in there, which is what we want. So at this stage, I've got a fairly normal lighting setup here, just with the light flooding everywhere, which is not what I want. I want a shaft of light to come down onto the subject. So that was achieved not with any fancy attachments to this, but just with a piece of card with a hole in it. So this is what I've got. So this is just a piece of mount board, and I've cut a hole in the center here. So what I'm going to do is just place a few stands around so that I can put the card over the top of the subject, something like that. So there we go. This is now in something like the correct position. I've just got a lab stand at the other end, a retort stand, and this is just the arm of this C stand. So it just supports the card enough to keep it in something like the right place. So in order to find out exactly where to put this, what I'm going to do is turn the modelling light on this light, and that should allow me to see where the spot of light is in the subject there. So what I can do is just go into the flash control here and turn the modelling light on. There we are. And now you should be able to see that I've got a spot of light which I can manoeuvre by just moving the card. In fact, if I just start up live view, you should be able to see the effect. So as I move the card around, you can see the spot move on the subject. Okay. So with that in something like the right place, get rid of live view again, and we'll turn off the modelling light. I'll just grab an image and see what I get this time. Okay, so that's considerably better. This is much more moody. It's just the sort of thing that I want. If I just zoom into that, we can have a good look round. Just make sure everything is good. Yeah, that looks all right to me. It's maybe a little hot at the top, but not too bad, I don't think. And I've got just the right amount of light on the background. Okay, so the only thing which is missing now is a little bit of ethereal smoke. So to make that, I'm going to use a smoke machine. So this is the smoke machine that I'm using. It's just a small hobbyist one, really. You don't need anything drastic to do this. Any type of smoke machine will do it. But while we're waiting for that to warm up, I'll just reiterate what we've done with this piece of card. What I've actually done is just made a gobo, or go before optic, and basically what I'm trying to do here is get this as close to the subject as I can without it actually being in the picture. And with the light being quite a long way away from the surface of the card, it means that this will act like a point light source. Therefore, the light going through the hole will form a shaft which will go onto the subject, hopefully. Okay. So the smoke machine appears to be ready, so we're probably ready to capture some images. So what I'll do is just activate the smoke machine and grab a few images as the smoke goes through. There we are. So we'll have a look at those and see how we go. If I just go back through here, this is with no smoke. There. So we have varying degrees of smoke above the subject, forming that beam of light. So basically something like that, I think, is just about what I want. So with that captured, that's it for actually capturing the image. So what I'm going to do now is just go into Photoshop and just see if it needs any post-production. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up 3 of the images that I captured earlier. So there's this one, and this one with smoke, and then this one after a lot of the smoke had dissipated. So what I think I'm going to do is use this one and combine the two so that I can increase the contrast just in this area down here. I quite like these scrolls of smoke in here. I think that looks quite atmospheric. Okay, so in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just make a stack of these 2 images. So I no longer need this one, so I'll turn that one off, and we'll just go to File, come down to scripts and go to load files into stack. So I'll ask it to add the open files. We'll just click on OK. There we are. So now I've got both of these captures in one document, just on different layers. So I've got that one and that one. So it's this area just here that I just want to tidy up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just add a layer mask to this top layer, like that. And then anything which I paint on this layer mask in black will obscure that part of the image and show the other one through it. So if I just make sure that I've got black selected as a foreground color, and I get a paintbrush, I'm going to use a very soft, quite large paintbrush for this. There we are. And I'm just going to increase the contrast a bit, just around this part of the flower. So if I just temporarily disable that, that's what we had before, and this is what we've got now. So it's just added a bit more contrast to this area. Okay, and I think the only other thing that I need to do to this would be just to apply a crop. So just using the cropping tool, I'm just going to use a specific ratio because I'm using this for video, and I think I just want to move that ever so slightly up in the frame, and I can maybe just compress it ever so slightly as well. There we are. And just click on OK. And there we have it. So by employing a few fairly simple lighting techniques, I've been able to create that shaft of light coming down, and together with a small amount of smoke, it's all created a very nice mood within the image. I think overall that's turned out rather well. Okay, well I hope you liked watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and click on the like button. Thank you very much for watching.